And the judges are down here really on the third to make an interpretation when there is a discussion of the interpretation of the law. They took and put themselves on top. That was in 1968, just 6 little words. So I think, no, let's follow what we have. I think we're far better off and elect people who are committed to following the Constitution.
I believe you're looking at one of the most important people in the country. The governor of each state is actually the most powerful group of politicians in this country. Because under the 10th Amendment, if the state legislatures do not like and do not believe that the federal government has passed legal legislation, the legislature and governor can order that that will not be allowed to be in this state. And I happened to be at the 10th Amendment Convention summit meeting a few months ago. I met Ray McBarry, if you heard of him. You heard of Judge Moore from Alabama.
I know him well.
Those two guys I was really impressed with, and I strongly urge you to stay in touch with them very closely, because they said some incredible things that gave me some hope, really, that we can do something about this nonsense. We can try to elect people at the legislature, but that's going to take a long time, and it may be too late. But if we get a strong group of governors, they can stop this nonsense right at the state level. We need to support that really hard. So I congratulate you, and I hope like hell you win.
Well, thank you very much. And can I follow up with that a little bit? I didn't know that you had talked to Judge Moore, but I have great respect for him. I would agree with this, and I have said this on many occasions. The governor does have the authority, should he possess the backbone and a conviction on the Constitution to stand, to oppose many areas of federal government intervention and overvention. The 10th Amendment, folks, the 10th Amendment, as we know, is the barrier document. It's the barrier between an overarching federal government, which is to be limited, and a large sovereign states under their own constitution. Most of the problems that we are having today with interstates that we are sensing across this country are because the federal government has overextended and jumped over that wall. Education, no child left behind. Welfare, the recent health care bill, all unconstitutional. Now, the states are pulled along by monies that come from Washington. You take our money, you give up your freedom. The governors have the distinct ability to say, we want no more money, and we're going to give up no more freedom. And then to say, this is where it's already happened, and we're going to begin to take it back. The governors have the ability, even in the case, I believe, of this health care issue, to say, not in my state, you won't, because it can't be enforced here unless we allow it to be enforced. And the governor has a lead role, which is why I absolutely believe, as was shared, that the governors of the various states in these elections we should understand that they play a key and pivotal role and can do more right now to push back against an overarching federal government than any single thing that we can do. And that's why the primary elections, oftentimes, in this year, will become key, pivotal times for who we're going to have in this position in this state and in many states. This is critical, and I believe, folks, and I am willing to draw that line. I have thought this through many times. I have thought through very carefully in my head and in my heart about drawing that line. Because you draw that line, you draw a line. And now you say, don't. And they say, we will. And then say, no, you don't. And that's what happens. It's something that with courage and conviction can be done, but ultimately our foundation is the Constitution. Follow the law, and we have good foundation.
I have just two quick questions. The first one is with the gentleman that asked you a question earlier, the first gentleman about the schools. He is correct. I think they build elaborate Taj Mahals, and I don't understand why children cannot walk up steps to go to another classroom as opposed to walking a straight hallway. When you get into office and you abolish the school tax, what is that going to do to these school boards that are out of control now? And two, if you could elaborate for the folks here, which I hit you up on, I think, one of your other forums, about WAM money and what you plan to do about it.
Okay, two things. If under our provision, our recommendation, the legislation that we have in place to eliminate property tax, how it would affect the school boards would be this. The school boards would give up what actually would be taken away from them, their authority to impose property taxes. They would lose the authority. That change, which means then the school board focuses their attention on the things that are of real importance: academic instruction and testing and student performance. Focus on the things for which they really ought to be focusing on. The money part becomes a different issue. Now, as far as the other question with WAM money. WAM money is earmarks. Lack of a better word, we know it all better from that perspective. I'm telling you, the process of earmarks have so distorted the process of good legislation. You just can't imagine it. When I talked about the 1991 tax increase, $2 billion was used to buy the vote. Really, folks, I don't remember a controversial piece of legislation coming before the House where votes were not lined up ahead of time and purchased. Those monies are in the bill, are in the budget, and lots of dollars are in the budget. I've also seen how good people are enticed to change their opinion, to change what they knew they ought to do in consideration of whatever it may be. Now, under any interpretation, that's called bribery. In most cases, it's illegal. But somehow it's done in the process because, as I heard one member say, "I know, Sam, you're right, but that's just the way it's done." And I said, "I know, and that's the problem." I have legislation in that would make that as illegal to do on the inside as it is for a lobbyist to entice a legislator. Because right now that's a felony. And I've said that if I am elected governor, one of the first things that I will do when I stand before that General Assembly, I'll say, "Folks, beginning now, we're going to stop a practice that has become common practice in this General Assembly. And we will not use taxpayer dollars to buy and or influence or negotiate or buy votes on issues when they come up. We're going, for the first time in who knows how long, we're going to debate issues on the merit of the issue and let the strength of the ideas prevail. But we're not going to use bribery and the taxpayer dollars in order to buy and influence votes." Folks, it would do more to change the makeup of Harrisburg and Washington than any possible thing that we could do. And I will do that if elected governor.
Yes, I have a question. You said about getting rid of the property tax. How do you intend to do that, and what timetable are you going to do that in?
All right, the methodology is to eliminate the school property tax with and replace it with another tax, a better tax. In this case, a broad-based, flat consumption tax called the sales tax. The sales tax in Pennsylvania was put into effect in 1953 to provide the state's share of public education costs. It is today in law still called the Pennsylvania Education Sales Tax, interesting enough. It generates $9.2 billion a year. $9 billion of the $9.2 billion is our education budget. The question is, as we've looked, if you're going to replace all of the school taxes, it's about $10 billion. How can you replace them all? Well, you can't go to corporate tax because it's already the highest in the country, already the highest around. You could go to personal income tax, raise it about 3 percentage points from 2 to 5, and we could replace it. But only about 1/3